do my screen share. Whoops. Okay. Good morning, everybody. There we go. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen's meeting on November 9th. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag
of
the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, great. Getting a little better on that, but
look at that. We're almost in harmony now.
It needs to be either Scott or Peggy.
I know.
Needs to talk.
I end up
I
slowing
feel like
down.
we're jawing it back and forth a little bit. I'm trying, the drummer in me, I'm trying to keep the rhythm.
Okay. All right, next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from the regular meeting of October 26, 2020.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion or amendments? No? Okay. All in
Perfect
favor?
minutes by Lauren Rhines.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any abstentions or okay. Okay, great. Next item is my update. And I think we've all been seeing in the news what's going on throughout the state, that, our numbers are rising in Connecticut, and quite rapidly. It's amazing how quickly things can change within, a month's time. I think a number of you also saw the note that came out from the school district about what that implies is now it turns into quarantine numbers because of the, I think, very diligent efforts we've made in terms of requiring quarantine with people have contact with teachers or other students, but it's a I can't say the word, multiplier effect. So, you might have one teacher who teaches in two different classes, and now you've got, 40 kids that are in quarantine. So our schools have been particularly hard hit, both the schools and staff lately, but fortunately, we've still been able to keep in-person learning. So it's just a reminder, a lot of the issues have been related to extracurricular activities. And so it's so critical that people participating in those use caution, wear masks, and follow all the guidelines that their athletic associations have put out, as well as the state, so that we can kind of crack down a little bit more on this, because I think it's been a real problem, and it means our kids maybe not be able to go to school in person. And as a parent of two children in the school district, I think I very much am hopeful that we can stay in person and not have to go back to remote learning. The state also moved to phase 2.1 of reopening. And so I'm sure many people are starting to kind of grasp what this means, but, restaurant capacities have been reduced, rolled back to 50%. The dining rooms are now have to be closed by 10 p.m. with I think the last service at 9:30. Private gathering size. This is, a big deal, I think, for a lot of people personally. Anything in a private home, is now rolled back to 10 people indoor and outdoor. So we're really, really scaling that back from where we were before. And then there's also a lot of more limitations on public events in terms of gathering sizes and church services and things like that. And then
Wasn't
they
it
also
up to like 150, Peggy, at one
yeah,
point?
We were up to 150, 100 or 150,
So now it's
depending
back
on
to
the
10.
situation.
Wow.
And if you were large, like fireworks and things like that, they were allowing even much larger numbers. So the 10 is, it was 25 indoors and then up to 100 outdoors, I think, at a private residence. So this is a dramatic change, and we're entering the holiday season, I know, and people are going to really want to start getting together with their families. So, and then youth sports, they did issue some more specific guidance, limiting, basically abandoning any kind of out-of-state tournaments or having people from out of state come to tournaments here. They put out a whole thing on the different risk levels for different sports and what could be allowed and not allowed. So at least there's more detail now, because I think it was a little confusing in the August and September timeframe about what was allowed. So, all those things hopefully will have an impact in keeping the numbers down. So we just need to keep our eye on the prize, is keeping kids in school full time. And hopefully a lot of this will help kind of mitigate some of the issues that we'd seen over the last month or two happening. Other update is obviously the election was completed and the results finalized. We had a huge voter turnout in Madison.
88.9. Wow.
Yeah, that was the last number I got from Nancy. I haven't gotten the final number. So, but that's a huge number. I'm guessing it is, but I haven't gotten any of that finalized or confirmed from her. Over 12,000 votes cast, and record number of absentee ballots. And once again, I just want to give my compliments to the registrar of voters, the poll moderators, the workers, volunteers, and the town clerk's office, because this was a massive undertaking. And I think the day went extremely well in terms of efficiency. There were some lines, I know, early in the morning, specifically at Brown, but overall, I think things went pretty well, considering you had to manage COVID restrictions and high volume all at once, and dealing with new locations, because we'd never had a presidential election at Polson in recent times. So using a new facility and moving things to the like election day registration to the senior center. So there was a lot of moving parts to this, and I think they did an amazing job getting things done. So very grateful for all of that. And then
I think
just
people
a last
were good about it too, Peggy. I mean, even the lines at Brown, the reality is people were okay, I think, and understood, and it moved fine. So
it did. We were fortunate because we didn't have some of the horrible weather that we've had in previous years. When people were waiting in the rain and the cold. And so I think it was gloomy, but it wasn't raining. So that helped keep people's spirits up, I think. But, there'll be lessons learned again about the process and what went well and what didn't work so well. And hopefully we continue to improve it and make it an easier process for all the voters in town. And I welcome for the public, if you have any recommendations or feedback, please email my office, and I'm happy to pass them on to the appropriate people about your experience and what you think, how things could have been managed differently or better. But I do think they did a really good job.
I just want to call out that the registrars did actually need to exercise one of their contingency plans up at Brown because something always goes wrong at Brown, it seems like. But they had a voting machine fail later in the day, and they had another one lined up and ready to go, and they switched over seamlessly. So they're planning.
It's amazing. Wow.
In their contingencies were in place, and they were able to execute them without any problems or incidences.
Was that I was in voting, Bruce, was that the machine that they were having to bang on because it wasn't, it was clicking or something, I think I remember.
It was the one that was shredding the ballots.
Oh, that's kind of an issue.
The machine failed, and they had a second one on standby.
Right.
They put that into
Awesome.
service right away, and everything worked perfectly. It worked flawlessly.
It did. And I think the other thing to note is, during the primary it was right after Tropical Storm Isaias, and we lost power at Brown the day before the primary. So we had a fear that could happen again. And so we were working on a contingency plan. We had those high winds that came out, how can we get a generator installed? So these are all things I think that we have to think about more in the future as we look at our facilities, because we don't have a lot of backup systems at our schools at all. And so after a lot of panicking, we had everything, a plan B, and luckily the power went out at Ryerson rather than Brown on Monday. So the school suffered, but luckily it didn't impact the polling location. So these are the types of things that happen a lot behind the scenes, but it's all thought through, and, you have a plan and you just execute your plan. So, and they did really do a really good job. Last point is just Veterans Day service is 11 a.m. on the 11th at the town green. And one of the things honoring Veterans Day, I just wanted to highlight, which I don't know if Henry Wilson is on our call, but an Eagle Scout project was just completed that's going to be installed in Town Hall that is to deposit flags. So if you want to dispose of a flag that, properly, you know, at home, they tend to get, if you have them out a lot, they get, you know, ripped or, you know, discolored or whatever. You can go here and insert your flag and it'll get taken care of appropriately. So we'll notify where we're going to put a town hall, but here's a picture of the final box. Maybe we put it back next to the ballot box drop or something. But thank you to Henry. We hope to get that installed in the next week or so. We're going to figure out where to put it. And so,
very cool.
Yeah, so that's a really cool thing, I thought, and it's nice kind of tie in with Veterans Day. So with that, I guess I open it up to liaison reports and selectmen comments.
Are you, Peggy, just a point of order too, you're showing, at least what I'm seeing on my screen here is your presenter mode, not the presentation mode. I don't know if others are seeing the same thing.
Oh.
So I see I see the next slide coming.
Oh, yeah. I did, yeah, I don't know. That's okay. I'll figure out.
You may want to unshare and reshare.
Yeah, I'll do that. So go ahead. We'll do this, and then really, there's not much more to. I'll bring those back up later. So, any selectmen liaison reports or selectmen comments? Nope.
I do.
Everybody's had a busy week.
Oh
Go
no,
ahead,
I
Scott.
do.
Okay, of course.
So for Madison Youth and Family Services, and I don't know if Scott Cochran's around, we may want to bring him up as well, but I'm just going to read this. So Madison Youth and Family Services would like to acknowledge and thank Tony DeWina as he resigns this month as our board chair. Tony served on our board for almost 5 years, and the last 3 as the chair. Tony's contributions to our board are numerous. He consistently provided insight and leadership to the board while working in lockstep with Madison Youth and Family Services during a time of several agency transitions and endless challenges to meet within our community. Tony's personality and skill set were well suited for his time as chair, being well organized and thoughtful throughout and willing to take the extra time to connect with others outside of the board. Tony was never shy to reach out to an elected official, myself certainly, or town or school administrator, and did so to help reflect the community's needs for Madison Youth and Family Services programs and services. He was always quick to provide others with accurate information related to our functioning and our vital role within the community. Tony was involved in other areas of our community and his church. He is well known and respected for his dedication to his civic activities and his general kindness. From all of us at Madison Youth and Family Services, we say thank you and wish him and his wife, Ruth, well as they move from Madison to be closer to their family and to their friends out of state. They both made Madison just a little better while they were here. Sincerely, Scott Cochran, Director of Madison Youth and Family Services. So that is my youth update.
Great.
And then just a quick update also on the library. So the Scranton Library obviously is now expanding their public access in terms of hours. They have doubled their public access hours, and appointments are no longer required. In addition, there are 3 study rooms available for public use. So if you need a break from your home office and want to take advantage of some great Wi-Fi, I encourage you to visit the library. End of report.
Question, hey, Scott, I don't know if you know the answer, but with the spike in COVID, is there any anticipation that the library is going to have to start
go backwards? Yeah, I don't know the answer, Aaron. It's a super question. My suspicion would be yes, but and my guess is they're probably thinking about that. Peggy, have you talked to them at all?
Well,
I can reach out to Nicole.
Yeah, I think the guidance for libraries did not change.
Right.
In this 2.1. So the question is whether or not they're going to choose to, you know, and I think part of this is going to be behavior of the public, you know, how they see it go, and if they feel they need to roll back. But I haven't had a conversation with them directly about it. So
I'll reach out to Sunny and to Nicole and see what they think.
Yeah.
Great question.
Okay. Any other comments, liaison reports? No.
Well, I think we should just mention the facility study.
Oh, good. Yeah, good.
And I don't have my notes in front of me, Scott, and I know I see Dave's on here too, but just as far as the facility study, which is looking at the conditions of the town buildings as well as use. And at this point in time, the interviews have been conducted by the consultant, and they've done an assessment of every building. And I don't have my notes on the timeline of what comes next, Scott. So
I want to say, I recall something about December. So I think they're targeting
Yes.
mid December, maybe,
Yes.
for it to come out.
Right, because we're talking about CIP alignment.
Yeah, because we're starting CIP. So I think the incorporation of this plan inside of our CIP deliberations is going to be super helpful.
Right.
Great. No, it's going to definitely be an important document that we're going to be using for a while. I know that we have a lot of things kind of on hold because of it. So, okay, great. I guess moving on to citizens' comments. Lauren, anybody?
Yep, hold on one moment.
Nice. We have a few today.
I'm moving over one.
Very active Monday morning.
Yeah, right.
You can go ahead and unmute yourself and please state your name and address for the record.
Lori or Kevin?
Yeah, they rose their hands, so they're definitely here. Here we go.
This is Kevin Schroeder on Johnson Lane. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yes.
Kevin.
All right. We had a technical glitch. I see that there's an agenda item for the solar carport project at Daniel Hand and Polson Schools. And you may know I've been fairly involved in this process, starting from the conceptualization of the project and then as a bidder in the first attempt. And just in advance, I want to commend the Board of Selectmen and those involved in this particular bid process. If you look at it, the town has gone from 2 proposals to now 7 in the second round. The quality of the proposals is higher and the price is more competitive. So I just wanted to commend those involved in the process.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Well, that'll be on the agenda later and we can talk more about that process. And any other public comments? No? Okay. Little chance at the end. So we'll move on to item number 6. Which is discuss and take action to approve a donation, the amount of $10,000 from Madison's Neighbor to Neighbor for the discretionary fund. Can I have a motion?
So moved
So
with appreciation.
Before we move that, I'm going to propose we change it. I think the agenda item is a little mistaken. It's 5,000 for the discretionary fund and 5,000 for rent. So it's not 10,000 to the discretionary fund. So I'll move with gratitude the donation from Neighbor to Neighbor of $5,000 for our discretionary fund and $5,000 for rent for a client with cancer.
So moved. Second, whatever you want me to do.
Scott Cochran, do I have that one right?
Well, so it's a little bit semantics. It all goes to what we refer to as our discretionary fund. I think they wanted to make sure that part of that donation was identified for a specific situation. So you're reading it correctly as for the purposes of your meeting, and we know what it's intended to do.
And then the backup that you've got to provide back to Neighbor probably should reflect that accurate.
Yep.
Right. Yeah.
Yep. Not a problem.
So that's my
thank you.
With it.
And thank you to Neighbor.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. This is the 4th meeting in a row or 3rd meeting in a row that we've been approving. And we're just so grateful. I think we would love to have them come and join our meeting sometime just to talk more about all the great things they've been doing and how generous the community has been to their organization, to help this all happen. So we'll make that happen at one point.
Yes.
But they've been a wonderful resource for our town and for those in need throughout this whole COVID situation. So
it's amazing they're able to do all of this work during COVID too. I mean, it's pretty impressive.
Yeah,
And
it
you
is.
know, it reflects the community. You know, and
Right.
I'll tell you, you know, they were not able to do their normal fundraising events that as they would in a typical time, and yet the response has been amazing. You know, we live in a
Wow.
community where people really want to give back.
That's cool.
And Neighbor is a way. Madison Foundation is a means for that help to get directly back into the community. It really, we are so fortunate to have them.
Well,
Thank you.
I think we're all grateful for them, and I guess all in favor of the motion as amended by Bruce Wilson, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, with gratitude once again. So Scott, thank you. And I know you guys have done a lot of work managing all this and making sure it gets into the right needy hands in town. So much appreciated for all that.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is discuss and take action to approve accepting the year one ELC Enhancing Detection Funding Grant in the amount of $27,377 to fund work towards the enhanced detection, response, surveillance, and prevention of COVID-19. Can I get a motion? Somebody.
So moved.
In a
Second.
Great. Okay, good. So this is actually Trent joined us, and he can walk through this. This is a state project that is awarding grants, obviously, to help contact tracing and things like that. So I'll let Trent walk through this, but he applied for this and we were awarded it. And it's great to have the extra resources. I know he's going to be very appreciative of having another set of hands helping him handle all this. So go ahead, Trent.
Thanks, Peggy. Good morning, everyone. So yeah, this was federally funded to Connecticut. CDC offered Connecticut $20 million. Member Governor Lamont announced that for local health departments, and came out in early September. And at first, it looked like an opportunity that was going to be hard to meet the deliverables. But after more conversations, it seemed as though we, as a town and essentially as a region, we need to prepare ourselves for mass vaccinations, and more importantly for our critical workforce and our first responders. So this money was an opportunity for towns like Madison, Guilford, Clinton, Branford, East Haven, and it's going to be a regional effort still. So a good portion of this money is going to be used for the first dose of the vaccination, as you see in the budget. That's going to be around $9,000. As it's 2 doses at $25 each. And we've been starting planning for mass vaccination of the COVID vaccine for about 2 months now, actually, and a lot more planning to do that with. Madison will be a point of distribution, and Branford will be as well. And that's going to be a regional effort. So not only Madison first responders, but Guilford and Branford and North Branford and East Haven. But also what this money is going to help for, it's going to help for me to potentially hire a temporary part-time RN who's going to go out, who will be trained in contact. It's a system that I'm using to contact trace and to also provide her expertise. And I do want to take a moment to say a nice farewell and a big thank you to Ruth Duana, who is the wife of Tony. She's been doing a great job helping me as a volunteer nurse, and also she's contracted as a nurse too, so she devoted a lot of time and effort to the health department and did a great job helping the town. So we'll be looking for somebody to replace her, almost in good timing, and this fund is going to allow for that. And it's just going to increase our capacities for epidemiology, surveillance, and reporting.
Okay, great. Sorry, I'm lost my screen there.
Quick question, Trent, the vaccination cost, that's just the cost to administer the vaccine?
Yeah, so that's the price that essentially Region 2 that we're riding with right now. We don't really know, Bruce, too much about the vaccine. We don't know if it's going to be delivered cold. We don't know if it's going to be blue, green. We just know that we got to prepare for it, and that's going to be some type of administration cost of it.
So we're expecting the cost to actually inject and the work that leads up to injecting is $25 per person.
Correct. Right. Yeah, because this is something where it's a regional effort. So we have to use we're a team of nurses. So this part-time temporary is going to be on board to help that. And then we're going to be using some nurses from East Shore, Rita Foster. And essentially we're all using each other's resources regionally as partners. So that's what we're, at least charging for the fee, for the administration fee for that.
So and then on top of that is the cost of the vaccine itself.
Well, the vaccine, thankfully, it's going to be not bought out. It's going to be bought by East Shore with other FET money that we have. And essentially I'm just paying the upfront cost for what it will cost to pay for the nurses to administer it to our first responders.
Wow.
Okay. So is
and this is
a hard number is 25. I mean, I'm just thinking about this logically. A nurse is going to make between $30 and $40 an hour. I'm trying to understand where $25 per injection comes in for the skilled part of the.
Right, for the skilled part of it. But again, the cost of the vaccine, that's a number that I don't know, but they have already budgeted for that, or essentially anticipating the cost, East Shore. So I'm sure that cost is going to help, essentially supplement what they spend for the vaccine.
And that's what I'm trying to understand is the cost of the vaccine in the $25.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes, definitely. Sorry about that. Yes.
Professional services. This is the all-in, the medication and the cost to deliver it.
Exactly. And I'm just covering our first responders at this time.
Thank you. That's what I'm trying to clear up.
Right. And I mean, we're going to look to the other critical workforce like Board of Ed and stuff like that. But the number that I have there is EMT, our EMS, our fire, and our police guys. The number there, the total number there.
How is the Board of Ed critical and the Board of Selectmen not?
Well, you guys are as well. Town hall staff.
That's a joke.
Town hall
You're
staff.
talking about the administrative. You're talking about the administrative in the school district.
Yes, I think he's talking about the schools, not just the.
Obvious, Bruce. Obvious.
I think I'll wait for the second or third round of this, though, before I take it. So.
Trent, I understand that some of these vaccinations require 2 injections. Is that $25 for each of the 2, or does that cover both of them?
That would cover both of them. What you see in the budget there is what essentially I'm willing to pay for, and I think it's an approximation that's overly. I think we overly budgeted for it. So we'll see when the time comes. Again, this is just preliminary planning. We don't know too much about the vaccine. We just have to prepare for it.
Yeah, considering we don't really know which vaccine is ultimately going to be the one that state recommends that people use, right? The Department of Health. So, although I did notice a big announcement by Pfizer today. So,
yeah, it's been all over the news.
Yeah. So, so there's hope. We're getting close. Any other questions for Trent on this? I mean, I think this is going to be an annual thing over a 3-year period, right? So we would come back, depending on how this year goes, then we would come back for the second year's award, and then we'd also come back for the third year's award. And there's no requirement to maintain this beyond the 3-year grant period, correct? And any employee would be a temporary employee that we would be hiring. They wouldn't be a town employee, right? They'd be a contractor that we would use.
Right. I see this as a benefit to the health department. Contact tracing and need a lot of help with.
Okay. Any more questions? Nope. Okay, great. All in favor of approving the accepting of this grant as written, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, great. All right, good.
Thanks, Trent.
Yep, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda is discuss and take action to approve awarding the design, engineer, construct, finance, operate, and maintain contract for 2 solar photovoltaic carport systems to school property, the Green Hill campus. I guess let's just start discussion on this because I almost want to amend this, but can I get a motion?
So,
moved.
Yeah. Okay.
Well,
Do we do
before
that? I want to amend the motion. Do we need to
Yeah.
open discussion first, or can I? Okay.
Nope. So,
Or just re-motion it.
Before you guys get going, Bill had sent a memo last week after the agenda was done. So what we need to do is to motion what's on there and then actually say the company that we are awarding it to, which is Green Skies Clean Energy.
Okay, well, because my other concern here is we don't have the actual contract. So I wanted to ask you about traditional process because I guess the board is authorizing me to sign the contract, right? So I spoke to Bill briefly this morning that there wasn't a draft, they're still in process of doing the actual contract. Al participated in the process with this. So there are terms, they bid price, all this stuff is there, but there's no contract on this. So, but in order to move forward, Bill felt we needed some sort of vote by the board to say that we're awarding the contract to them. And the way this read was just not quite, I don't know. It seemed like we were actually validating the contract itself, which we aren't because we don't have it in front of us. So I thought maybe we
could it be a
change
two-step process where we approve him to initiate the contract and then it comes back with the contract?
That was, go ahead.
Do you want me to read what we would normally do?
Yeah.
So that's exactly how we would normally do it, Peggy, is we would say to approve awarding the design, engineer, construct, finance, operate, and maintain the contract for 2 solar photovoltaic carport systems on school property at Green Hill campus to Green Skies Clean Energy.
Okay.
So that's how we would normally put that awarding.
That's what it
So
says.
the awarding is not actually agreeing to all the terms in the contract. It's awarding it to them and then we negotiate the contract.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I just was hung up on thinking I had to have the contract in front of me. And I'm like, I'm not going to, okay. So this is just the awarding of it. Okay. All right.
Yeah, and I
All
think
right,
we're just
Bill.
approving the recommendation coming in
Yeah.
from
Okay.
the team. So
All right. So I'll amend the motion then to add at the end of the motion after campus to Green Skies Clean Energy. Okay, so that's the amended motion.
We received all of that information, the budget, I mean, the packet for this morning, Lauren, that you sent out just has the memo. It doesn't have
Yeah.
any detail behind
Right.
it.
So then do we have to approve the contract at a later meeting?
I think so, yeah, right? We're
Because we don't
awarding it.
have, we have no
There's no information.
information upon which to vote other than the memo.
I would have thought we'd have to have another, once the contract is agreed upon, before I can sign it, the board would then have to vote on that, right?
or is that deemed more management and operational, which is, the first select woman, is operating under good faith that you're reviewing the contract with our town attorney and you sign it.
But we usually have the numbers.
Do we usually review the contract? I'm not sure we do.
Well, no, but I don't know, but we usually have numbers. Like whenever.
To review the options.
Yeah, the actual just terms of the contract.
But maybe
right?
Billy
I
can
know-
sort of speak to that and that will
Yep.
alleviate our concerns just listening to the recommendation too. So why don't we get to the motion and then discuss it. And if we decide we don't want to vote, we don't vote.
Okay. So the amended motion I just read, and so can I get a first and a second?
I'll so moved.
Second.
Okay, great. Okay,
Now
so
let's
Bill,
discuss
why don't you eagerly are waiting?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you
Yeah.
for giving me the opportunity to speak with you guys today. First, we did have a committee. Al was on it. Of course, he's on the Board of Ed. Galen Collier on the Board of Education, and Fillmore McPherson on the Board of Finance. We solicited proposals for an RFP, request for proposals, and we had 7 responding firms. Very good, qualified firms. We reviewed all the 7 proposals, and we decided to interview 2 of the lower price ones, the 2 lowest price. We reviewed them, we interviewed them, and we selected 1 firm. We do have, Green Skies does have a sample, which is pretty close to the PPA, which is the power purchase agreement. It's very long and detailed. I didn't send that to you because I just, thought it was a lot of information. I was looking for you guys to select the firm recommended by the committee. Myself and Woody Wise, the chairman of the Energy Committee, helped and supported them, answered questions. Of course, we did the administration stuff out of my office and participated with the interviews for the committee. I did not put the dollar amounts, but I could tell you it's a 20-year power purchase agreement. And maybe I should have put down the breakdown of the cost of the Polson proposal was 0.077 per kW, and the high school was 0.087 cents per kW. So the contract, I assume the contract would be reviewed, finalized with the town attorney and signed by Peggy. I didn't really anticipate that it had to go back to the Board of Selectmen, but not a problem. So that's the details. I'm happy to go into more details about the cost and the proposal if you'd like. I just gave a general overview. Woody is here for questions about from the energy perspective for the conservation and what we're doing. I'm happy to go into the project in way more details. I just looking for direction from the board.
Well, I think we all felt that the project was valid, and I think everybody understands what the project is. I think it was just more, what are we voting on today? And I feel uncomfortable voting on a contract I haven't even seen yet, And so this is partly maybe I don't have as much experience with this process, the contract award process. So I know that our town council hasn't reviewed this either. So this is all going to be bringing in town council, myself, going through the whole agreement. And the question is, would the vote today mean I can just sign it, or do we need to bring it back to the board for a final vote? Lauren, what
in the past, what we've done, Lauren, and just help me with the process, but in the past, I think what we've done is we vote to approve the recommendation, and then the contract is sent around. And if we have any concerns, we put it in there, that goes to town council, and then ultimately you sign it. But I don't think it comes back for an extra vote.
Okay.
Correct.
But at least we have a bite at the apple in terms of looking at the contract just to give a suggestion or recommendation. I mean, 9 times out of 10, we probably don't, but.
Right, but we also usually get some sort of documentation that has a matrix of the competitive bids, and then the rationale of why this was the one that was the best. Not in long form, but a pretty short explanation of why.
Did you get my memo?
Yes. There's a memo. It just talks about.
It left out the dollar amount, and you're right. And I have that if you wanted to look at it, but it's not a simple matrix. But I could pull it up and share it with you. What we did share with, when we opened the bids, we did a quick summary of the matrix of the different costs and all the companies.
Is there a way we can just look at it now, Bill, and then
I can put it on the screen?
Yeah, let's do that.
Let's do
If
that.
I can share, I can figure that out.
Yeah, because when I think back to like the garbage contract, we've only approved a few contracts, but we did have more information when we're voting. That's all.
So can you see this?
Yes.
Yes.
So the top, I got the top. I'm not really sure what you can see, but I can't see the whole thing. It has the town of Madison, our little thing, the solar, the different companies that propose. Here's the rates. Some were, had escalation costs. I didn't put it in any kind of order. Here are the different ones. I know Woody did a detailed review on all of them. I really concentrated on the 3 low bidders, which were Green Skies, Luther, Colorado Renewable, and US Green. So those were the ones I spent real long time on. The last 3. I've had already looked at US Green's sites. I've already looked at them, and then I went and looked at Green Skies, and I checked a couple references, and I went to a site where they did solar. So I physically, checked on the locations and what constructions they have in the past.
And we're selecting US Green or Green Skies. There's a lot of green, so.
Yes. No, the recommendation is Green Skies.
Green Skies, thank you.
And
But what-
maybe Al could talk, oh, sorry, I was just saying maybe Al could talk about, because he actually sat as part of the review committee, just about the discussion and Aaron. did you
Yeah,
have a
I'd be
question?
happy to speak. And in our selectmen's package this morning, you will find the memo that from Bill as to why we selected this specific firm. And really, it came down to the 4 criteria listed in the memo. Those criteria as listed, we felt that Green Skies had the most comprehensive and professional response to the proposal. We were delighted to see that they had experience with many municipalities here in Connecticut, especially the school systems, so they had quite a track record.
Al, do you happen to remember, or Bill, what just some of the schools that they've worked with?
Yes,
Bill's gonna have to help me here.
Okay.
I went up and looked at the one in Killingly. I went and checked it out. I met with the facility guy, and I went and looked at the school there in Killingly. They did one in Fairfield, and I definitely talked to the Fairfield people. And they gave a stellar review. I talked to, and I think I shared with the committee. I got an actual written review. I shared it with the committee. And then the other one I checked on was Southington. So
a lot of Connecticut experience. That's great.
yeah, and so I only checked the school municipal ones. I didn't check the other ones. I mean, the list is huge. I just picked 3 school ones, and I contacted and followed up, and I checked on the references, and then I went to one site, the one site that had the carports, and so I wanted to see it. I wanted to see what it looked like, and the construction techniques and the technology, and then I went and looked and saw what they did. What the end result looked like. So those are the 3 I followed up on.
There were 2 more criteria that the committee used. The fact that Green Skies provided a single source for ownership, design, construction, maintenance, and monitoring. We felt that was a very good factor. It made it easy for the town to monitor this contract over the next 20 years, and gave us a single source, a single place to go to deal with all of the issues that are going to come up over a 20-year period. And finally, we felt that the pricing was comparable between the final 2 firms that we looked at. And so all in all, we were unanimous that Green Skies had given us the best proposal and had the right experience and the right sort of management structure to ensure the success of this project over a 2-decade period.
That's helpful. Billy, can you just comment too on the energy savings that we're expecting here with this project, and certainly with related to Green Skies choice?
So I think, that's always a debate, and some people will say we're saving a lot of money right away. I think the number is somewhere over 8 cents that we spend now, and the net is going to be just under the amount we spend now. I think it's the long term. My opinion, it's the long term savings that we're going to have, the renewable energy that we're using, and then hopefully, which no one will project, but hopefully we can help out on the grid and the peaks. If it's really sunny out the day that we have a peak demand and the solar system's working really well, we might be able to keep our peak down. So I think there's a lot of benefits, and I think that there's going to be a little bit of a savings right away. And then I believe the long-term savings and the impact for green energy is the big savings. Our first solar panels that we put up in 2010. It was 2010, so 10 years. Other than some construction problems that we had, the solar is working perfect. There's no maintenance to it, and it's running exactly like it said it would. So 10 years of a mechanical system that had no problem other than a construction installation, which to me was, in hindsight, the company that put it in didn't have enough experience and installed it incorrectly. But other than that, the solar systems, the solar that we've put in so far has really been running basically flawless, and no maintenance to my operation or anything. And it's been providing solar power and energy for us that it exactly said it would.
So
Thanks, Bill.
is the 077 and the 087, is that inclusive of the delivery fee? Is that generation and delivery?
Yeah, well, we're generating and delivering it on site, so there's no delivery fee.
Okay, so that's an important question, right? So somebody who shops their own home electricity around will see that 077 is probably not even as good as what you can go out and shop in the retail market right now. But when you're shopping the retail market, you're only buying the generation part. You're not buying the delivery. That's fixed from Eversource. And as we all had the happy experience this summer, that delivery was a little hard to swallow. This is inclusive. And so to anybody who's watching this and sees this 077 and says, hey, I'm buying cheaper than that myself now, you are for the generation, but this includes delivery.
That is correct.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the other piece on here is there's a whole nother piece to this, is that we need to have more renewable energies, or we're going to lose some credits that we had received in the past. Correct, Bill? So this was also a project that had bigger implications than just the installation of, these panels.
That's close. We can't put any roof stuff up, so we selected to do the freestanding units, and we need to get it in in reasonable time. And if we don't, we'll have a problem with ever doing it again. So yes.
Right. So, okay. Well, no, this is helpful. I think just we're used to seeing something more like this in the few contracts that we have approved in this board. And so this helps me feel a lot more comfortable, because I just felt like a little in the dark, not knowing what was coming.
Can you just send this out to us, Bill? Would you mind?
Not at all. I'll, as soon as we hang up, I'll email this to you guys. I'm,
right.
I should have put it in.
A couple other quick things to clarify. When the next big storm comes through and damages these installed structures, who's responsible for repairing them?
That's the best part. We're not responsible for anything other than, we're going to have some problems with construction. We're going to have to deal with that. But other than that, if they don't work, we don't pay them, and we take power off the grid. If they get damaged, I don't know about the insurance. I got to confirm about the insurance. Are they our liability or not? But they're 100% their responsibility to make them work. The insurance thing is not clear to me. I got to check that out. Good question. I don't want to speak about that.
Okay, and then at the end of the 20-year period, this works like a capital lease. They become town property?
No, at the end of the 20-year period, we need to negotiate. They could take them. We could tell them, get rid of them, or we could buy them from them. It would be up to us to decide.
Would we pay them for that removal?
No. My understanding is that they will remove them if we want, or we will buy them and keep them if we want. And that's there's no contract or agreement on the price at this point, other than we can say, we're all done, take them away.
And that would be part of this agreement that Peggy is looking for, right?
That is correct. It's outlined in the draft PPA very clearly.
Was that part of your deliberations, though? Did each firm, when they bid, put forward what the termination of the contract would look like?
They were all the same, I believe. They were all the same.
Okay.
I shouldn't say that they were all the same, because some weren't clear, but there was a bunch that were all the same.
Okay. Well, I think those are things that we have to, this is going to be reviewed by town council. And those are the types of questions we got, because that can be an economic issue, obviously, too, about the value of the contract, what happens at the end with the panels themselves. So I think that's stuff we're gonna have to iron out in the contract.
So the recommendation from the committee was to select the firm that we were recommending, and they're very clear on theirs. We can either keep them or they'll take them away, and then they negotiate the price at the time, whatever the fair market value is at that time.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
That's what we, was in the draft PPA, which I, happy to
Right.
share that with you too, if you'd like, but I think we should finalize it. If we recommend to go forward with this company, we'll get the finalized draft to you
Mhm.
guys after the town attorney reviews it.
Okay, I think why don't you email this around so that people have it, and then,
Yep.
the board will get a chance to review, a draft of the contract.
Okay. Do you have
does
anything
everybody-
else for me?
Any more questions?
I mean, we should be pretty excited as a Board of Selectmen and frankly, as a town. I mean, this is a
Yeah.
huge step in terms of our renewable energy footprint
Yeah.
in town. So this is exciting.
No, I agree. I think that, we're just entering into a 20-year agreement. I would feel more
Don't take it lightly, right?
if I could see the final draft after it's been reviewed, just to satisfy myself on the commercial side of it, right? Because the attorneys are going to look at the contract and its structure, but they're not going to make a decision on the commercial aspects of it.
What I'm hearing too is the contract and the PPA structure itself, Bruce, is fairly standard. So it may not be a lot that we need to be concerned about anyways. These are fairly routine agreements.
Well, and there's no obligations to us.
Right.
So it's not like we're required to buy them at the end. It is really going to be a choice that would be made in 20 years. And then we make an economic decision whether or not we want to hold on to them. And it sounds like if they're all bidding, that's a standard way that these contracts are handled. But we can find that out because we have all the other RFPs
Yep.
to look
Yep.
at. So, I think, if everybody's comfortable moving forward as amended, the motion amended to approve awarding the contract. I mean, I'm comfortable now that this is kind of how we normally do it. So, all in favor to the motion as amended, say aye.
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 Mhm.
Bruce, are you good?
No, I said aye.
Okay, great. Okay, great. All right, good. It passes and you guys will all get a chance to look at the contract. And if you have any more detailed questions, we'll get them all answered for you. Okay?
I emailed you guys all the breakdown of the summary of the bids.
Okay, great.
Thanks,
Thank
Bill.
you, Bill.
Appreciate all
Have a
your hard
great
work
day.
on this.
Yeah, I do. Thank you.
Good,
Thank you.
positive stuff. Thank you.
Yep.
Thanks,
Okay,
Woody.
moving on to number 9. This is just a discuss granting a tax abatement to the Caleb Foundation and Hope Partners in accordance with section 20-3 of the Town of Madison Code of Ordinances. And so I know we've got Dave Anderson here. Dave, if you want to give an overview of the project, I know everybody got a memo about the project and what these abatements look like. I think the process would be eventually we would have to get this approved by town meeting. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, first let me, Liz Torres, who's representing the developer, should be on. So I'd like to invite her
okay.
over.
Great.
And then also Dave Carswell, potentially from the Hope Partnership. And then when Liz gets on, if there's anybody else.
Morning.
Liz. Morning.
Morning.
Yeah, just briefly. So this give you a little bit of background. So this project is located behind Cohen's Bagels, adjacent to the entrance to Windermere. It was actually originally approved by Bob Dowler as I believe it was a 16-unit townhouse development. The first building was constructed. They had some difficulty selling them. So then they actually came back to the Planning and Zoning Commission to reapprove the project as apartments, as rental units. So those 4 existing units in the building that exists today are being rented. Since then, Mr. Dowler sold the project to the Hope Partnership and the Caleb Group. The Hope Partnership's out of Old Saybrook, the Caleb Group's out of Boston, and their desire is to move forward with the project for affordable rental units. So the existing 4 units would remain market rate. I believe there's 2 other units in the historic red building that's on the property. Now that would be market rate. And then the remaining 25 units would be rented at affordable rates. And so Liz is helping the group prepare applications for financing. As part of that application, she's asked if the town of Madison would consider a tax abatement for the units. Initially, we had considered going under the EDC's tax policy that we recommended to the board and that you approved. But in thinking further and looking in closer at our town ordinances, we have an existing town ordinance, section 20-3, that allows the board to enter into up to 20-year abatements for projects that are affordable rental units. And so I can let Liz kind of go through what they need. To answer your additional question, Peggy, about the process, the way the ordinance is worded, it's a little bit unclear, to be honest with you. And if you want, I could pull that up maybe really quickly.
Well, do you want to? Okay, I was going to say we could talk about the project first and then talk about process.
Okay, yeah. Let me stop then. Let's do that.
Yeah, because I know we've got guests on, and or obviously, and I did have the opportunity to visit the site. I think that was many months ago now, and I think it should be a really wonderful development. And so please go ahead.
Good morning, and happy Monday, everybody. My name is Liz Torres. I'm the housing development consultant working in with the Caleb Group and Hope Partnership. David Carswell, who's the chairman of Hope Partnership, is on the line. So just want to acknowledge that he's there to back me up if any questions come up. So we are proposing to create a mixed income housing development at 131 Cottage Road. Of the 31 units that we expect to develop, 7 of them, David, you almost had it, 7 of them are going to be market, and the other 24 will be affordable. As I noted in the memo, those 24 housing units will be set aside for families earning less than 60% of AMI. One of the things that I learned as I was putting together a funding application for this project, and I was doing some analysis on some of the demographics of the census tract in the town, what I've learned is that the town of Madison currently doesn't have anybody living in the town that's making less than 80% of the AMI based on the last census data that we pulled. And so this project really does look to help diversify the demographics in the town and provide affordable housing options for people that currently may work in the town, but just simply cannot afford to live in the town. It's a great project. As I noted in my memo, we expect that the total development cost is going to be about $12 million. It is expensive. The construction costs have gone up because of COVID. And so that's been something that we've have had to deal with. We are submitting an application for low-income housing tax credits this Thursday. And when we submit that application, it's actually a consolidated application. We submit it both to the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority and the state of Connecticut. And to be competitive, we really, the state and the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority really does look to see how much support the town is providing for the project. And I know you've been supportive, Peggy, and it's been great to have both you and Dave visit the site, but a tax abatement in this way would actually really help make us much more competitive for that public funding. So I'll stop there. In the memo, I sort of highlighted all the great reasons why you should support the project from an economic standpoint. So if you have any questions, let me know. Dave, let me know if I've missed anything.
No, sorry, my phone was ringing. I just had to mute myself. No, I think you got everything.
David Carswell, just want to give him an opportunity to chime in.
Can you, I'm having some camera difficulties. Am I?
I can hear you.
Oh, Great, wonderful. Well, Hope and Caleb is very excited to be a part of this project. It's going to add, I think, a significant benefit to the town itself. We've had Hope Partnership has been active organization, not-for-profit organization in Connecticut, based up until recently, based in Old Saybrook. We're currently now based in Essex. Some 12 years ago, as noted in the write-up that was submitted, we brought online 16 units of ferry crossings community in Old Saybrook. The town worked very closely with Hope Partnership to bring that to fruition, and it's been very successful. We've been working to get Spencer's Corner online, and we'll be doing a ribbon cutting on that probably in February, March at the very latest. And that's where we're bringing 17 beautiful apartments to Centerbrook. And we're very excited with the plans that we've got in place for Madison. And it's going to be I think at the end of the day, it will be a real gem to have for Madison, something that you'll be able to look to as an example for the rest of the state. Any questions?
Well, first of all, I want to just thank you again, because I think this is, there's a lot of discussion about what's going on in the state with affordable housing and things like that. And I think what towns like Madison struggle with is we don't have the kind of infrastructure to really support, to meet some of these guidelines that the state, puts out, and so it's these smaller, I think, focused development projects that really fit in with the character of the community, and I think is really helpful to send this message that we support affordable housing, but we wanted to do it so it fits well within our community. And I think this could be a really nice example for that. And this was also a property that I think from a, just a standard market-based commercial side struggled. And I think that the previous owner, was really insightful and looking forward, just thinking, how can we make this a great thing where everybody benefits and the entire community benefits? So we're thankful to the Dowlers for moving forward with this, and thankful that you stepped in to take over this project. And I think we just need to understand a little bit more. I guess I have a few questions, and this is maybe more for Dave. You mentioned that you went more for this abatement program versus the one the EDC did. Is there a big difference in terms of the value of those abatements?
Well, yeah, so the abatement under section 20-3 of the town ordinance is for a longer duration. It's up to 20 years.
Okay.
And it could afford a greater abatement than the EDC policy. And I think when you read the language of 20-3, it was specifically intended for projects like this. So I think it's most appropriate to try to go under this existing town ordinance. And I couldn't tell from the town ordinance when it was adopted. It was either in 2006 or prior to that in 1990, I think. So it's been on the books for quite some time. And, so that was the reason I steered them towards applying under this.
Okay. And then the numbers in the memo talked about how this, 10% number, this kind of slowly creeps us closer. So it'll get us to 2%.
We're at 1.7% right now, and which is, a little over 130 units in town. So the addition of 24 more units, it bumps us up nearly 20%, which is a huge jump. And if in a traditional, what they call 8-30G application, 30% of the units are affordable. And so, that's just a trickle every time. Yeah. So this is a real opportunity to add a significant amount. And the rental units, in my opinion, is a great way to go. So, the commission, initially approved this project as like I said, as a townhouses. Then they set a 10% requirement for affordability to approve it for rental units for Bob Dowler. And then they actually approved unanimously Hope's proposal to convert the remainder of the project to affordable units. So the Planning and Zoning Commission is really behind this project 100%. So I'm hoping we can, we can assist them to secure financing to bring it forward.
Dave, have we applied this ordinance to any other project in town?
Not while I've been here. But this is a unique project in town. As I said, it's typically that we have just a few units in a development that are awarded this. I will say though, the affordable units in town do get a tax abatement, so they're taxed based on their restricted price, their restricted sale price. So every year we do that calculation. And so this is the same thing. I mean, what they're proposing is that we tax them according to the rental income that's actually generated by the project, which is exactly the same. We're taxing the for sale units by the restricted price. So it's a fair way to do it. And so I think, for this board today, what I would hope or ask you to talk about is approving in concept the income-based approach for a 20-year period, consistent with our ordinance, and then work with Liz in the assessor's office to kind of finalize the details of that. I don't think anybody today is prepared to discuss details, and I think really Orietta and Bill O'Brien have a lot of experience in this area, and I think they'll be really crucial to giving you guys good advice on what exact income-based approach to take, and we can do a little, collaboration with Liz and Hope and Caleb to make sure we all can agree on something that's beneficial to everybody.
I a couple of questions. The matrix, good morning, Liz. The matrix that was in our package breaks out the units and then that are available as a percentage of AMI. So if we take the first one, there are four 1-bedroom units that are intended for occupants that are at 25% of the AMI. Will those units sit vacant until they're filled by that particular demographic slot? Or if you have an oversubscription at a higher AMI, would you transition those people in at that corresponding rate into those units you've got set aside?
Yeah, so that's a good question. The state of Connecticut and the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority will rate our application based on the set asides that I've outlined in the memo. And that unit mix is like the right mix to really compete well for this funding. And so if we get funded based on that unit mix, we are required to stay within those income limits and those income tiers. However, if we can demonstrate to both the CHAPA and to the state of Connecticut that we've exhausted all of our, best efforts to attract families and households at those income limits, and there just simply isn't interest, then we can amend the regulatory agreement and rent to households above that income band.
Bruce, if I could add something to that comment, though, we're talking about, 1 bedroom, we're talking about only 4 units, and the income required there is just $18,240. Sadly, if we can look at it this way, sadly, we find ourselves in an economic environment where we do not anticipate any trouble at all filling those units. And it's been our experience in our other communities that Hope manages and owns, as well as communities similar to Madison and other parts of the state. The demand is there. So if the concern is some type of vacancy blight, I think that concern should be minimized.
Well, I don't know that it's a concern so much as just a question. I would hate to think that we are, if we found a a sweet spot of that AMI, that we would be denying those people housing because we've got units set aside for a group that isn't appearing. That's all. So I'm not worried so much about blight as just denying people housing. So you're saying that with some demonstration of effort, if we find that there is a slot that isn't getting filled, you can modify that and then get those units occupied.
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. I have a question. We've talked about abatement, but the table that we have has deferral. And I think those are two different things.
Yeah, so what I did was I put together a proposal that was in some ways a hybrid of what what I think that you guys all approved earlier in the year versus and what's in your ordinance. So what I did was phase in the taxes over a period of 7-8 years, and then, which is what your tax policy calls for the commercial. Am I saying that correctly, Dave? The commercial tax policy you put together?
Yeah, I think that's
It was deferral though, right?
Yeah, so basically I used that same model and basically deferred the taxes over an 8-year period of time, and then said at that point in time the taxes should only increase 2 years until year 20. So providing a 20-year tax abatement, but the way it comes in, it's kind of phases in and then increases slightly between years 8 and 20.
Okay, Dave Anderson, am I confused? I mean, I think a deferral as a deferred payment that will at some point come due, and an abatement is an absolute forgiveness of.
Yeah, the way the EDC's tax policy works, it's an abatement that the percentage of abatement basically reduces over time until you're paying 100%. The way that this section 20-3 reads, it's also an abatement. It's not a deferral.
Okay.
You know, but I think what I said earlier, I think holds true. I think the details of this really do need to be hashed out with the cooperation of the assessor's office. But I think, you know, what I'm hoping today is that the overall concept of supporting, you know, this development with what I think is outlined pretty cleanly in our existing ordinance, a 20-year abatement for the project, is something that I would hope the Board of Selectmen could support. And again, Liz does have an application due. This has been on our radar screen for quite some time. It's just coming to the full board now. So it's not for lack of Liz kind of doing this last minute. We've known about that this request was pending for some time. So I apologize if you guys don't have all the information today to make a preliminary kind of decision on it. But
Dave, how does town government monitor a project like this over the years? What is the mechanism we use to make sure that the organizers of the project are actually renting these units in accordance with what is being proposed here?
yeah, well, maybe I'll let Liz answer that specific to this project, so if you could, Liz.
Yeah, so we will have we will draft a tenant selection plan and an affirmative fair housing marketing plan that has to be approved by both the Connecticut Housing Finance Authority and the state of Connecticut. And once we start the process, we have to notify our funders that we've started the process, and we have to demonstrate to them that we're complying with that tenant selection plan. There's a lot of eyes, if you will, watching us, making sure that we are complying with, you know, the unit set asides and the tenant selection plan.
Liz, is there some communication between the state authorities and the municipal government on an annual basis to provide the assurance that
Yeah, It's a good question. I don't think, Dave, that sort of reporting relationship exists between, the state and the municipalities.
No, that's correct. It does. It really does. And I think in this particular case, if we were to pursue an abatement of the taxes, there would be an annual reporting of income by this group. So we would have that information prior to actually executing the abatement every year. So there will be ongoing dialogue. So I think it'll be based on, the prior year, what have you, income.
Nice kitty cat there, Scott. This is why I'm in the office, because we have 2 kittens at home, and they tend to bug me too.
He just launched up onto my head there. That was crazy. Sorry about that.
Well, and I think it's important we talk more about that, because it is becoming, in town government, it's a lot of work following, the paper trails for all of this and getting approvals done every year. And we find with all our senior abatement and tax freeze programs, it is a burden. I don't want to say burden. I mean, it's a benefit for the community, but it is a lot more administrative work for us. But on the other hand, we do really need to start offering these types of opportunities. It's going to be something we'll have to talk about, how we manage it and make sure that we have adequate staff to, be able to monitor and follow through.
And the difference with this, Peggy, is we're not actually dealing with the end consumer, the renters here. We're going to be dealing directly. And so the administrative responsibility is largely going to fall to, Hope and Caleb and to provide us all. And it's professionally managed organizations. I think we
which it is. You're right. And a lot of what we're dealing with on the senior side is directly with the individuals getting their individual. So that's a good point.
So from a town employee standpoint, not a lot of incremental work. Is that what you're saying, Dave? I just want to make sure I'm translating.
I think there'll be some work up front to work through kind of what the abatement's going to look like from an income perspective, and there'll be a little bit every year just to verify. But I don't see it as being burdensome in any way. No.
Yeah, because the Hope group will be the one providing the data and things like that. So it'll be a little different dynamic than what we deal with right now. Any other questions from the board?
Yeah, I have a question, and this might be kind of a dumb question, but how does the family size work, Liz? Is that like for the purposes of calculating household income, or is that specifically, intended to be a family of 2, a family of 3?
It's just to determine the maximum income limit for that unit.
Okay. So you could have 2 unrelated people renting together.
Yes.
Okay. And will the units be handicap accessible?
10% of the units will be accessible. I think we have more. That's actually a requirement. And the others will be adaptable.
Okay.
Well, Peggy, I'm very supportive of the idea. I'd love to learn more. And I'm not sure exactly what we're looking for this morning from the selectmen.
Well, I think this was just to educate us, and also, I mean, I'd like to continue to express my support for this as we move through the process. So I'm very supportive of moving things forward, but this will come back to this board in terms of actually granting any kind of abatements. Correct?
Yeah, I think it would be helpful. Maybe Liz could clarify exactly what would be helpful for her process, but I think some kind of formal vote from the board stating that you're moving in the direction of considering the 20-year abatement, or I'm not sure exactly the language that you'd feel comfortable with. But basically what I'd ask is that in concept, you vote to move in this direction rather than leaving it without any kind of formal action today, because I think that would maybe not give Liz the level of support she needs for her application.
And you need that today, Dave, or because on our agenda is only discussed for this topic. So is that something you guys need today, or is that in a subsequent meeting?
I would ask that you think about it for today.
Okay.
Until
Would a letter from my office help? Like just support of at this point for your application?
Yeah, so one of the things I was sharing with David is that we'll need some sort of a support letter or commitment to provide conditioned upon final town, approval kind of a thing. But something like that would be very, very helpful for our application on Thursday.
Dave, from a process point of view, does our ordinance call for, do the selectmen have the final word on this? Is the Board of Finance involved? Is a town meeting involved?
Well, I'll share my screen real quickly because it's a little bit, we may need to have town council weigh in on it. The way this reads, the Board of Selectmen may, after approval of future projects by the town meeting and by majority vote of the board, enter into these contracts. So the project is approved, obviously through the Planning and Zoning Commission. There was no town meeting for the approval of this, and then that would not be required. So the language is a little confusing to me. I think we should probably ask town council to weigh in on that before we finalize what the process is.
So I actually already have, and I was hoping that I would have an answer for you guys this morning. I actually sent this to Floyd last week and asked him to clarify the language of the ordinance, and I haven't heard back. So I anticipate that I should hear back from him within the next day or so, and then we would know for certain what the ordinance actually is mandating you to do.
Okay.
Perfect.
I guess, can we do like a, just in terms of the letter that I would write, what I could do is circulate it to the board to get comments from you that you're comfortable with the letter without having to vote on anything today. Would that be adequate at this stage?
Works for me.
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so I'll send around a draft letter that gets you what you need to keep the process moving forward, but doesn't obviously lock the board into anything until we actually take action. So we'll do that.
This is a great project for the town, consistent with some of the strategic values that we've identified. It is definitely something that Dave has been working on personally for a long time to bring more of this and this type of what can be a successful project to town. So I think that's great. One thing I would ask Dave is that we get an overall financial impact on the value of the abatements. Not as a condition of saying I support it or not, because I think this is a great project, but we do need to understand the financial impact of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I can certainly help facilitate that.
Okay, great.
Thanks, guys.
All right. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Dave, thank you for bringing
Thank
this
you.
and for you guys for supporting this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Liz.
Bye-bye.
All right. Next item on the agenda is a cell tower communications update with Chief Drum. So Jack, I think, is on, and
He's just on mute.
yeah, Jack, you're on mute.
That's because he's on twice. So let me move the other Chief Jack Drum over.
You can only have too much Chief Jack Drum in the morning. Should we get an extra cup of coffee for this, or? There he is.
All right.
I heard you all.
No, that was just Scott.
Double trouble.
Hi, good morning, everybody.
Morning.
I guess to start the discussion is that we currently on the tower at the old police department, Route 79 across from the ambulance barn, we're on a tower there that's owned by a group that purchased it from the town of Madison approximately 20 years ago. And we currently also receive income from that tower at approximately, I believe it's close to $250,000 annually. I'm not quite sure on that. Why we're having a discussion is that tower, one, the town made an investment almost $750,000 in the last 24 months. We enhanced coverage for downtown, which was crucial for all the services, most certainly for the ambulance and fire. For some reason, that corridor, Route 1, was always a problem with coverage. This contract we have with them expires in basically the end of 2024. Now, we've talked enough to town council to know that we're not going to be tossed off the tower, but we may be required to start paying a rent. So some of the discussions that came up, and I'm just trying to get this on because the timing somewhat is perfect for a 5-year plan, get it on CIP, so that A, do we negotiate now so that we exceed past 2025, including the enhancements you'd like to make to the tower? B, do we try to purchase back the property and the tower for the town of Madison? Just a little caveat to that, I believe that the gentleman that purchased the property did it for $1. Generally, when the towns do that $1 deal, it means that they have to do development rights. Now, there is no development there other than a foundation that we've seen, at least since I've been here, last 9 years or so. So I'm not quite sure what that is. And we're seeking answers, I know, from Floyd's office, from Floyd Dugas, town council, and also Dave Anderson, I believe, is going to look into it. The third choice would be, do we build a tower across the street behind property that already exists, owned by the town? And the price of a tower, this is ballpark, is somewhere between $240 and $290 with all equipment needed, and control, a containment building, and of course the equipment. So that's what we're facing right now. What I'd like to do is move forward, at least get a placeholder with CIP, and so that we can figure out as we move through this process with the owner of the property, if it's any one of the A, B, or C, that we're prepared to do it. So that essentially is it. Now, it's imperative that we hold that location for a tower, obviously for the coverage for the services. The second part of that is that after the storms we just had, the discussion came up that wouldn't it be nice to have the microwaves that connected to the various towers that then enhance that. Essentially, we would not lose our internet coverage and obviously generator back in the event of a extended power grid. Now, the problem with losing the internet coverage for the services is that the MDTs that are in the cars and the net motions that are in the fire trucks and ambulances, they rely on that for information going to the scene. Obviously, it increases the response time. That's about it.
I mean, basically, we've got to make some decisions here the next couple of years, and it's complicated because we're going to lose revenue, a lot of revenue that we've enjoyed in terms of figuring out our tax situation, and we're also going to have an operational impact if we end up not being able to stay on that tower, or if we're required to pay some sort of rent fee to stay on the tower. So we're trying to look at a lot of different options. Jeff, one of the things was actually bringing in some commercial revenue to our own tower, right? That's another thing that we want to consider exploring.
I would like, maybe by consensus by you folks, to give me the authority on your behalf to start making an application to the sitting council to add 3 commercial sites to the Arts Barn Tower, the one that we built, which has the capacity for that, actually more. Because the one, the tower already exists, we're not going to have a lot of the zoning pushback that you would have normally. Nobody wants a big tall tower stick, we got through that limits test in the last 28 months. So I don't think that's an issue now with town residents, but having 3 people on there, three vendors on there, or contractors on there at about $2,000 to $4,000 per month for 12 months, 20 years certain is not a bad investment for the town of Madison. And they're liable based by contract for any damage they do to the tower, any damage or interference to the town public safety network, or other vendors that are on that. So it wouldn't be we talked about that when we first built it, that let's just get our public safety tower built and then we'll pursue down the road adding commercial to it. And I think it's not a bad investment for the town. We've already built the infrastructure, the money's been spent, we're halfway through paying for it. So to add an income level to the town, 100-something thousand annually is not a bad idea, particularly when the cost of OEMS is expensive as far as radio communications, and that's changing every year like laptops. It just changes the technology.
So it'll be a help to offset what we might be losing here in a couple of years, because the sale of that property, we're still trying to find the actual documents in archives. When that property was sold across the street from the ambulance, where the ambulance is now, part of the agreement was that we would get this revenue. And so instead of paying up front for the property, we got this stream of revenue, and that's going away. And so by putting commercial on another, tower that we own, we can start planning and try to have a smooth replacement. So this is just a planning process that we're going through now, so we can have some revenue replacement for what we're going to lose. And then also just address, we still want to have something in that location because it's critical to our communications network. So how do we do it? Do we renegotiate with the people who might end up buying that property? Do we try to find an alternate solution, as Jack was talking about? So we're going through that process now, and we'll come back to the board with more of a strategy at one point about what we think is right. But I think it would be good to get the process going of getting approval from the Connecticut Siting Council to do commercial revenue on the Arts Barn tower. So I think today we just wanted to, brief you on that. This is going to be an ongoing discussion. We're probably going to add into CIP in December a placeholder for this, because we might have to make some investment if we want to keep that location by the ambulance, but we don't know what and how it's going to look, because that's going to be a negotiation process. But I think today was just to kind of bring you a little bit more in the loop about what was going on and making sure people are comfortable with us moving forward on the commercials, adding commercial to our tower on the Arts Barn. So any questions? I know it's a lot to.
Something has to be done regardless, right?
Yeah, we don't have a choice. We just want to be ahead of it.
Something has to be done. So I think that the wise move here clearly is to put it on the CIP just as a placeholder, no matter what. And then regardless of what happens.
Well, and I think also getting commercial process going, because that might, Jack, how long will that take for us to get that approved?
I'm not sure. It's a much shorter process because obviously the tower's up, it's already operational and licensed. It's just that the structure, they're making sure the structure can hold the additional, and there won't be any interference to other communications within a certain period of, within the cell group. What I need to know is, do you folks like me to pursue this and get a placeholder in the CIP, and do you want me to pursue it with the sitting council, working with council for the town?
Yes.
I think we have to get prepared for the future here. We can't just ignore this. So, Jack, I want to make sure I understand the organization you're calling the sitting council is the siting council. Is that right? The Connecticut.
Yeah, I'm dating myself back to a period of time when Mortimer Gelston was the head of it. The name has changed. Yes.
Thank you.
And I think any contract or anything that we would do with a commercial, it would have to come through this board still. So it's not like there's any commitment. Yeah. He just wants to get the process moving and make sure that the board doesn't see any downside personally to doing it. I mean, it's an opportunity to raise revenue and an investment that's already been made.
Let's hope it helps Peggy's Wi-Fi in town campus too. You just got robotic.
Yeah. So I don't know, any questions from Bruce or Aaron? This will come back to the board. You will be voting on any contracts and anything like that. I think it's just he wants to kind of get this process rolling.
No, I'm just super curious to understand a transaction for a piece of property for $1 and what the performance requirements were around that.
We buy it back for $1?
This was done in 90 or God, when was it? It was more than 20. It was 20.
95, 96.
Yeah.
Wow.
And we're trying to get the actual purchase and sale agreement, which we don't seem to be able to find right now. It's somewhere because I was kind of stunned when I saw that. So I said, well, there's some economics there that somebody, the town, and then we were trying to figure out if the town actually voted to sell the property, because you have to go through a town meeting to sell property. So we're kind of looking into all this and seeing what actions the board had taken and what the dynamics were around that when it originally happened. We just don't have that right now. We got to go back to archives to pull a lot of this.
Most of the development that takes place within communities and government where they sell the property for $1, they generally have a timeline on it and a development attached to it. Seeing that maybe the economy, maybe the project was trying to put in there did not work, we're hoping that maybe there's a clause that the property that could be bought back by the town for the same revenue, same cost.
So until we find those documents, you know, we won't have answers to any of that, but we'll hopefully pull all that together, and then we can talk about how we address that issue with that specific location, which I think the chief, they want to keep in some way, shape or form, whether it's there or whether we put up our own tower on the, you know, ambulance. So there'll be more to talk about in this.
Okay, with the CIP on the radio communications, I don't think we have to create another line within CIP. I think we just added a dollar amount to the what we projected to the existing. We're taking X amount of dollars out now to buy down the debt of the radio tower communication. Actually, 2 phases of retired. One retired last year, one retires this year. Then we have, I think, 2 years left on the major investment of the tower. So if we keep that placeholder, same amount of dollars in there, we're still going to, when the time comes in 2024, 25, we'll be in position to do whatever we have to do.
Okay. Okay. Any more questions? All right. And like I said, you're all comfortable with him pursuing the commercial piece, it sounds like, so he can get that process rolling. Okay, great. All right, thank you, Chief. Okay.
Thanks, Chief. Times 2.
Yep. Okay, the next item is discuss and take action to approve the charge. I'll screen share here of the Charter Revision Commission. For some reason, it's not letting me just show. I don't know if I got an upgraded version of PowerPoint, and that's why this is just.
Fine. I just see the slide now. You're fine.
Yeah, but it's showing the side too, right?
Just push it over. Just push. All you have to do is push that.
Yeah,
over.
I know, but there's a presentation thing. It's funny. I think because I have a second screen now in here, it's messed this all up. So it's doing it on the other screen. So anyway, so I will go to. I just put basically on here what we had as far as the. You know, this was what Lauren had sent around based on our conversations last week. About the proposed charter commission charge. We added some of the language that board members had requested. Lauren, correct me if I'm wrong, we don't want to do an actual resolution until our next meeting, correct? So that we have a little bit more time in terms of appointing board members or commission members?
So what you can do today is you can approve the charge, but we will not establish the committee until your next meeting. So on your meeting on the 23rd, we will actually establish the ad hoc charter revision commission for 2020. That way it doesn't start the clock ticking on the 30 days that you have to appoint the membership from actually establishing the committee. So I think today, if you guys approve the charge, then we send out a solicitation for potential members and get that ball rolling so that you establish the committee on the 23rd of November, and then you vote on the membership at your morning meeting in December, which is the 14th.
Yeah, and that way it just doesn't get us into a tight timetable to actually interview and make selections. It gives us a couple more weeks to add to that 30 days if we do it this way.
And how do who does the interviews?
So that's something that you guys should review today. Generally, it would run similar to other ad hoc committees, Aaron, that you've set up for like Island or the Government Studies Committee, where you would have a panel of your membership that would interview the candidates, hopefully one from each party.
So 2.
Yep.
2 people.
Aaron just signed up, I think.
Yeah,
Al is really good at it.
Al is really good at it.
He sets up a whole matrix and.
Oh, wow. We want Al on the team then, clearly.
So, yeah, and I think that we would just do this like the other ad hoc committees, and, you know, Aaron and Bruce can fight it out who gets to take that mantle.
Now, can we bring in other people to help with the selection?
I mean, the problem is you can't have 3, right?
No. Yeah, I don't mean board. I mean just anybody. Like, let's
Like
say if we
who? Like-
wanted to bring in someone who had been on a prior commission, just because they have experience. Could we?
Oh, you mean as a candidate, not to actually interview people? Or?
No, as part of the selection committee, or does it have to just be us?
No, I mean, that's if you all were in agreement, yeah, you could bring in some other person that's outside of the Board of Selectmen that you feel would be beneficial to the process. You could bring in somebody from Board of Finance if you really wanted to.
I was just curious.
Yeah.
I think it
just
does
keep in mind,
complicate it.
the more chefs in the kitchen, the harder
No,
it is
no,
to
I
select the
know,
list.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and then what we could do though is just, solicit to other, who's being interviewed. So if people do have, thoughts or relationships to advocate, for those people, they're always welcome to submit that to the selection committee and to the board.
I think it would behoove us to cast a very wide net here to get some new faces and people. So.
Yeah. And we did
Sounds
get
like
a
you're
lot.
volunteering, Scott.
What?
Sounds like you're volunteering.
No. We've already
It seemed
nominated
to me
Al
that,
from our party.
having done this many times before, I recognize that it takes quite a while to announce openings and set up interviews and do the scheduling. We need to allow ourselves a lot of time, and I think we should get started as early as today in terms of beginning to advertise this and let people know what the process is to submit their names. I don't think it's too soon to do that.
Yeah, I think if we
Does that
approve
start the meter though? Is that the issue Lauren had though?
No, we're just approving the charge today, and then we would schedule a vote on actually establishing the committee. I think that's the one that triggers the 30 days. So we could do that next week, or we can do it in December. If things are going really slow and we don't feel like we have a lot of people, it doesn't mean we have to wait 30 days to appoint it. It just means we have to do it within 30 days. So we could always do that at our December meeting also, just to the appointment piece or establishing the committee formally. So I agree, because it's also getting into the holidays, although I guess people aren't really traveling, and we can do Zoom interviews now. So it might be a little easier this time. When you're doing it ad hoc, you had to do it in person. So
yeah,
this
I
might
think
be a little more.
get the request out as soon as possible. All right, should we vote on this?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess, can I have a motion to approve the charge of the 2020 Charter Revision Commission as written?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. All right, so we'll start promoting that and so that people are aware. And then I think, in the next couple of days, we'll sort out the interviewing. The two board members will do the interviewing. And like I said, Aaron and Bruce, and then Al and Scott can duke it out.
Not it, Al.
Okay. All right, great. Okay, moving on is discuss state of Connecticut Executive Order 7H and update to town meeting procedures. I know this was something that I'd hoped we'd have more information on. This has to do with how we can have town meetings and in-person meetings during the current state of emergency at the state level. We were supposed to be getting guidance from COST and as well as CCM on this, which are these organizations that support towns in the state of Connecticut, to come up with like, how do we manage this from a technology standpoint to make any voting legal, and we just haven't received it yet. And I think part of the problem is we just all of a sudden, kind of a surprise to everybody, the governor went into reopening phase 2.1, which rolls back a lot of the meeting sizes that are allowed and gathering sizes allowed. So it just pushes us more towards a technology solution than maybe what they thought that they were able to come up with previously. I will say that we did have our technology, Art Sickle did look into initially, and we're going to be doing more exploring of this, of what investment we might need to make from a technology standpoint to make the meetings better. So if we were in person and doing a hybrid where we were broadcasting as well as having people come in person. So we're trying to work through, and part of it really has to do with the quality of sound in the fishbowl room, which is a tough room to have, meetings because of just the way it's set up. And so we're going to look at some other things because it was pretty budget busting, I think, for us to consider what was being proposed at the time. So he's looking into other options. So I'm going to recommend we just table this for the next meeting, and hopefully we'll get some further guidance from the state as well as from our town council. And let me, sorry, I'll unshare this. If that's okay?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay, moving on is update on boards and commission vacancies. This was just a list of, I don't know if I have that handy actually, Lauren. Is there a list of that you can read off just for the community, and maybe we could post it? Of vacancies in boards and commissions?
It's a long list.
I'd love
or
to.
do you want to screen share it? I mean, because I don't have it handy with me.
Okay, hold on. Unfortunately, I can't get anything open right now on the town VPN. So I don't think I can.
Okay. Well, it was in the attachments, right?
Yeah.
So let me see if I can pull it up.
Peggy, I have it open. You want me to just read it?
Well, I guess it's long, so I thought we could show it on the screen for the audience.
You can let Al share his screen, can't you?
Yeah, can you share your screen now?
I have no idea.
Above his
I'm
pay
just trying
grade.
to find, oh, here we go.
Is it?
Okay. Nope, I got it here. Just give me 1 second.
Goldberg is sharing something.
Okay. All right, I will share this. I got it up here. Back to Zoom.
There's something on, I know.
Oh, that's me. Okay. You can see my screen then? Oh no, this is Al's.
I think this is
okay.
Al. I think
Al did
figured
it.
out.
Okay, Al.
Can you see it?
Yep. So just for the public's benefit, and I think this would be worthwhile, we'll try to display this on the website, maybe so people understand that we do have a number of openings on different committees in town. And, and some of these are really interesting committees. I mean, they're all interesting depending on what your level of areas of focus are, interests are. But there are many opportunities to serve right now. So I would recommend if anybody has a interest, you can either go directly to the board through an application on the website, or you can choose to go through one of the political parties. And one of the functions that the political parties offer is that they actually do try to recruit people to come and sit and fill these vacancies. And they go through and they pick an endorsed candidate, and then that comes to our board for final approval. But if you are not interested in going through a political party, you can do this directly to the town directly. And that's on the application's on the town website, right? Lauren, where is it? I'm wondering if we could put this with a big button for the application somewhere on the website. Maybe we talk to Rita about doing that.
Yeah. Just until we get that up, it is on the website. If you go to www.madisonct.org, at the top of the page, there are blue headers, and one will say, "How do I?" And when you click on that, one of the options is apply for a board or commission.
Okay, great. So we encourage people to do that, and
There's actually
get
just
involved.
There's also
with our,
another.
Okay.
sorry.
Go ahead, Scott.
With our update coming with Tony and his wife Ruth stepping down, there'll be an additional opening at Madison Youth and Family Services, Coastal Resiliency, and Senior Services also. So we probably want to.
Yes, yep, that's right. This doesn't reflect that. So
Well, as well as aren't there a number of vacancies that will be in at the end of the year? Terms that are coming up at the end of the year.
Term outs, yeah.
So maybe we
And
also,
7 members from a charter commission that we're just gonna get going on.
Yeah,
we had a
so
lot.
maybe we want to highlight all of those and not wait
So
till last minute.
the way that the reappointments work for terms that are coming up for the end of the year is I we have to wait until we know that the town committees have commitments for reappointments on those vacancies. So
Because some people go over again, right? Just term in.
yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Okay. So if somebody is currently in and wants to stay,
Yep.
they're just allowed to continue?
So they
Well, the
can be
party decides.
reappointed. Yeah, they can be reappointed through either their party or through the Board of Selectmen. So I had sent out an email last week to both of the nominating committees for January 1st and asked them to get back to us by the end of the month with the appointments that they would be recommending for a second or an additional term. In addition, there's also, I think, 3 or 4 appointments that did not go through a town party previously. They were appointments that came directly from the board. And those ones will be brought to you guys to confirm. And I've also sent that same list out to every board or commission chairman that is currently appointed, just so that they can give their input as to whether or not the members have had regular attendance and should be reappointed.
From a party standpoint, both together, and I know they work a lot with Lauren as well. So there's a lot of coordination. I used to do that job. So
we'll certainly, I think, try to make all this kind of clear on the website where this information is available, where the vacancies are, is the application process. But you're right, we are coming to the end of the year. How quickly it goes. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Everybody's good on that. The next one is the discuss and take action to approve the 2021 Board of Selectmen meeting schedule. So can I get a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Okay, and then this is one I actually wanted to, I guess maybe I should have said this prior to this, but a thought I had, so we could maybe table this for one meeting, was to move our Monday morning meetings at 8 a.m. to Tuesday mornings at 8 a.m. And I think, there's a lot of value to that. Like right now, we tend to get the board packages out by Friday morning or sometimes by Thursday, and if we stay to that commitment, at least this gives board members an opportunity to ask staff questions on Monday, so that if they're being expected to vote on things or just want more information, they can have access to staff before the board meeting. We would keep our Monday night meetings still, and then we would just move the morning one to Tuesday 8 a.m. It's just tough on the weekends to really focus, and then a lot of times I look at some of the stuff. It shows up Friday, I look at it Sunday night, and then the next thing you know, it's 8 a.m. the next morning, and you're trying to get answers to some stuff. And so I think it might help make things more efficient for us to get questions answered. And if we need to call town council or invite town council to the meeting, then we can call them Monday rather than bothering them on the weekends. And so that was my thinking. I probably should have talked to Lauren about this before. So, my thought is maybe we table this, everybody look at the calendar in a new light. We send out a new one if everybody's comfortable. And then, we could revisit this, vote on it at our next meeting. Because I know people want to look at the calendars and stuff and they've got work commitments. So
would it be possible to coordinate this schedule though with, I see like on the schedule right now for the 24th, Sam DeBurra's Zoom meeting. So I'm assuming that's EOC. If there's a way to coordinate so that they're not falling, because just from a work standpoint, taking my entire morning would be tough.
No, I think absolutely. And I think then we can rethink, whether it's EOC or other types of commitments, we would just shuffle those around. And this would be starting in January. So it gives us, 4 or 5 weeks to kind of work it out and see what is a conflict. Great. Lauren, do you see any problems from a staff standpoint, just that I haven't thought about? I know we chatted about this at one point, but
as far as moving it to Tuesday morning, no, I don't really see any issue. As far as EOC, I think we decided last meeting to go back to weekly EOC meetings. So that's, something that we would just have to coordinate with Sam, maybe to move the ones that conflict with this to either Wednesday or Monday. Maybe we move those to Monday instead of Tuesday.
Yeah.
But no, I don't see any other issue.
And maybe by January, we won't need weekly again. That's what I'm hoping. So that we won't be stuck here for a bit. Any other thoughts from the board on that? If Lauren were to send out a revised schedule with the Tuesday morning?
No, I think it makes sense because I had the same last night when I was looking at this. I was like,
You get
oh,
that Sunday night panic.
yeah, and there's no time, and there's no time to do any follow up. So I think that makes sense.
Okay. All right. Good. Okay. Well, we'll do that then. We'll. I guess.
I have no idea, Peggy, why Monday has been the time-honored time for these meetings. Maybe Gus Horvath would have some idea, but
let's not ask him now, though.
Tradition, as far as I know.
Yeah, I know. Well, we'll start. Yeah, and I think. Yeah, I know. And then there's other, complications because we don't want to overlap with Board of Ed, but we're the only ones I think that have morning meetings. And so, this one's easy to move versus like the Monday night would be more problematic because of Board of Finance, Board of Education, all that stuff. But so I guess then what I would have to do is withdraw my motion and then, or do we just do a motion to table this? What?
I think we just table it.
Okay.
I think you literally just.
Okay, we'll table this for the next meeting and then Lauren will send out a revised schedule and get her, if you look, because Tuesday might, create problems from holidays or whatever. So that's why she just needs to really vet it to make sure there's no problems before she sends out a revision. Okay?
Yep.
All right, great. So we will table that to our next meeting. And then discuss and take action to approve the 2021 town holiday schedule.
So moved.
Second?
No second.
Oh, okay. So this is kind of just, there's no changes to this. Is there, Lauren, from what has been in previous years? We're just doing the typical holiday schedule?
Exactly. There's nothing special about this year. It's just, this is typical and it's what's allowed in the personnel policies.
Okay.
Perfect.
And just to confirm, these are paid days off for the volunteer members of the Board of Selectmen as well, right?
Oh, well done, Bruce. Nice. You get your bagel and coffee.
Yeah. Well, at least you can do it from home right now, which is always nice. So, all right. So all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, great. All right. And then discuss and take action to approve the fiscal year 2021-2022 budget workshop schedule. I would recommend we table this until we get our meeting schedule settled, just to make sure there's no conflict with what is in this, because I haven't really looked at the two together. Tuesdays in there or whatever.
Agreed.
So, okay. All right. We will table that. And then number 17 is, I guess we need to, a motion to accept the resignations with gratitude from Anthony, and I apologize, how to pronounce Anthony's name again? Dewina, Tony Dewina from Youth and Family Services Board and the Coastal Resiliency Commission, and Ruth Dewina from the Senior Services Commission.
So moved.
Seconded with gratitude for everything that Scott outlined. The Dewinas have been tremendous in their volunteering with the town, and we're going to miss them
big time.
Yeah, thank you very much. These are very important active boards too. I'll just highlight. So about obviously a big time commitment from both of them, and particularly from Tony. I know we never really got the opportunity to meet, but I know I've heard great things, and all the accolades that Scott echoed earlier in this meeting. We're grateful for your service, and they'll be tough shoes to fill, but for the public, there are some openings on these boards. So thank you very much, both of you, for your service. Okay, next item on the agenda. Oh, we have to vote. Yeah, I'm sorry. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Okay, great. Next item on the agenda is tax abatements. And that's one I don't have on me.
I'll move that we accept tax abatements in the amount of $4,376.40.
Second.
Okay. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, great. Tax abatements granted. All right, number 19, citizens' comments.
I'm moving over Gus Horvath. Hopefully.
Hmm,
There he is.
here he comes, yeah.
I had to go through a long process to unmute my microphone. You hear me now?
Yep, you're good.
Oh, okay. Regarding your discussion on item 9 on the abatement thing, don't know how aware the current members of the Board of Selectmen are of the number of affordable housing programs we have in the town of Madison now. And if David hasn't already summarize them for you and give them to you, I think it might be of interest to you to find out how many there are and what the implications are. I can understand your interest in the amount of money that you might not be collecting in taxes and fees and other things. The one that I am aware of, because it was on their board of directors many years ago, is Concord Meadows. And they had received a tax abatement for a number of years, and I don't know whether they still do or not. And that is the only complex in the town of Madison that I know that has federally subsidized the rental. So that is the most significant one. The rest of them are all private projects, just as this one is proposed to be. So I think for you to get an understanding of what the implications are for this project into the future, maybe you can have David put you together a summary of what already exists in Madison and what the implications are for those that already exist to give you a leg up on the thing. Just the whole idea of getting some information. I don't know how informed you folks are.
It's a great idea.
And that's not a criticism, because that's just it. I have institutional knowledge because I've been involved in things like this, like being on the board of directors at Concord Meadows and understanding what the process is in something like that.
No, I think that's great advice. We have not a lot of experience in town, but we certainly do have experience. There is a track record here. So I think that's worthwhile looking at those projects and how successful they've been and what the impact has been to the town from an economic standpoint. So,
yeah, and one of the unfortunate things of having elections and people are rotating, they don't understand or don't have knowledge. I shouldn't say don't understand. They don't have knowledge of some of the things like this that are out there.
thank you very much, Gus. Yep, we'll certainly do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks. Lauren, anybody other public comment?
There's one more. I'm just moving them over.
Hello, this is Kevin Schroeder. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Wonderful. Kevin Schroeder, 29 Johnson Lane. I made an earlier comment about the solar project that was an agenda item. And if you'll allow me, I'd like to amend my comments. At the outset, I'd like to say I would amend them in the positive, in the sense that I would like to reiterate my compliments for the thorough review and what appears to be the potential outcome of this project. But I'd like to say that I reviewed all 7 proposals, including being a submitter of one. I think I have the technical knowledge to analyze these proposals quite thoroughly. And we provided the review committee with a detailed analysis, a bid comparison, not an interpretive comparison, but rather using the specific data provided by all proposers to detail the ultimate cost savings across the 7 bids. And the approved recommendation this morning for Green Sky Solar, by our analysis, will save the town of Madison approximately $437,000 in energy savings over the 20-year PPA. The second place recommendation, US Green Technologies, which for full disclosure, I'm a part of, would have saved the town of Madison $549,000, approximately, give or take, $100,000 over the 20-year PPA, additional savings by going with US Green Technologies. And having listened to the commentary by Mr. Goldberg and also Mr. McMinn, nothing really that I disagreed with in any way, shape, or form. My takeaway is that perhaps for some 20-year security, safety, or comfort level, ultimately the town of Madison is selecting to go with a reduced savings rate, $100,000 over 20 years, to select a multinational firm based ultimately in India, then in California, and ultimately they opened up their LLC in Connecticut to have a presence in Connecticut. Whereas the second place qualified bidder, US Green Technologies, was founded in Madison by graduates of Daniel Hand High School. And I could elaborate further, but it was in one way or another, I'm sure there were other factors, but I see it as a selection of the international firm versus the local. And as a taxpayer citizen, I'm not saying that's right or wrong, but finally, I just want to reiterate that I thought it was a very fair and thorough process. Thank you.
Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you. I will like to make a comment that one of my objectives, I think, continuing forward is when we go through the bidding process on anything, I feel like we do need to have a set of values that we associate with that bidding process about what the town prioritizes. I think we don't really have that. And I think that's something that is just good practice to have. Criteria, values that align with the town's values. And so just any kind of feedback from the community is always helpful as we kind of try to formulate that going forward. So, but you know, I think they did a great job in getting this through. And I think the other thing we've been trying to do is include all boards in these decisions, because it ultimately oftentimes it impacts all boards. We did that with the facilities committee. We did and we did that with this committee. And I think it's just a good practice going forward when it makes sense to include more boards, so you have different set of eyes and different objectives looking at these proposals. So we're always trying to improve, which is good. All right, thank you. So no more citizens' comments, Lauren? No? Okay, great. All right, with that, can I get a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All right, great. Thank you, guys, everybody. Not too bad, 2 hours and 11 minutes. All right, thank you very much.